Today is a somber day as we commemorate and celebrate the life of former President Jimmy Carter. The first service out of two happened earlier this morning in Washington, D.C., and all former living U.S. presidents were there to attend. And boy, oh boy, did they put on a masterclass in body language and interpersonal dynamics. There is a lot to unpack here. So you can see President-elect Donald Trump walking in. Former Vice President Al Gore stands up to greet him, give him a handshake, and so does Mike Pence. This is the first time that Trump and Pence have seen each other. Pence gives Melania Trump a handshake as well, but they are completely snubbed by his wife, Karen Pence, who apparently was a complete Karen in that moment. The music in the funeral, by the way, and as guests are coming in, was just absolutely beautiful. Bonus points for anyone who recognizes this piece. Leave it down in the comments below if you recognize it. So coming in on screen right is former President Barack Obama. You'll notice that he walks right past Donald Trump, Melania Trump, no handshake for them, picks up a pamphlet. Mike Pence again stands up, shakes his hand. Same with former Vice President Al Gore. Now, you'll notice Donald Trump is there with his wife Melania, Mike Pence is there with his wife Karen, and Barack Obama is all by himself. The official narrative is that Michelle Obama couldn't come because of scheduling conflicts. She is in Hawaii right now, but a lot of people, it's being reported, I believe Politico was the first to report, that she purposefully skipped this because she would have had to sit next to Donald Trump. And here you can see Barack Obama, Donald Trump talking back and forth, the first black president just casually talking with actual literal Hitler. In comes George W. Bush, again, completely snubs Donald Trump, Melania Trump. He does this weird pat on the stomach to Barack Obama, remains seated, while Vice Presidents Mike Pence and Al Gore stood up to shake his hand. Now, Melania just seems in her own world. I don't want to say disengaged because I'm sure there's a lot going on in her internal monologue. But it's really interesting, really fascinating to see all these political dynasties and families sitting right next to each other. And then who you're about to see come in are the Clintons. So the Clintons don't really acknowledge George W. Bush or Barbara Bush, and they don't acknowledge anyone else sitting next to him. They just shake hands with the people in the row behind them. Just from an optics perspective, this is really icy. It's almost as if you could cut the tension with a butter knife. Now, you'll notice 4 chairs in front of all of them, and those 4 chairs are reserved for the current president, Joe Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris. And what is really interesting about this next clip is the camera is zoomed in super close on Barack Obama and Donald Trump's faces, and Trump leans over to Barack, and Barack Obama bursts out laughing. He chuckles, and that apparently catches Kamala Harris's attention. She looks back, sees them chumming it up, having a good time, and just pay close attention to her face. You can tell she is just absolutely seething on the inside. So you see Barack Obama crack up, big smile, which is really noticeable because we've been told all these years that Donald Trump is actual, literal Hitler. Now, you notice the music pause. They had this piece on loop, and it began again right as Kamala Harris took her seat, and that sigh right there, that look back and the you can tell she is not having a good time, not that happy. Now, of course, last but not least is Joe Biden, and if you thought that the Clintons coming in and ignoring all the other presidents was notable, it's really noticeable when Joe Biden does it. And in fact, they even mentioned it and called it out on CNN during their coverage.
Started the year as the would-be Democratic presidential nominee, and we all know what happened after that. Again, you didn't see a particularly warm greeting between the first couple and the second couple, but again, we are at a funeral, so one has to take that into account when trying to read the body language of the individuals there.
So you could hear Jake Tapper trying to make an excuse, but come on, this isn't the first time we've seen the first couple and the second couple be really icy towards each other. I've shown in previous videos how it's really obvious that Joe Biden has been giving Kamala Harris the cold shoulder, quite literally, just absolutely ignoring her, not at one, but now at least two public events, and then that happened this morning. So that's at least the third public event. And of course, there have been different theories. For example, Joe Biden wore red on Election Day. Was that subliminal messaging? Was she trying to make a point? Or was it coincidence? We obviously don't know. We won't know unless she gives a tell-all. But, you know, sometimes the tea leaves are easy to read. What is particularly interesting in CNN's coverage is how much deference they've been giving to Donald Trump, and how I'm surprised they've actually been quite fair to him, and they even said something nice about him during the funeral. Abby Phillip, who is by no means a Trump fan, acknowledged how gracious, cordial, and just presidential and human Trump was when he spoke about President Jimmy Carter. Take a look at this.
I have gone through the planning process. All of those men there have thought about it. I think particularly of President Trump, who I think surprised a lot of people with how at least his written statements and some of his verbal statements about Jimmy Carter have been incredibly gracious. He disagrees with Jimmy Carter on virtually everything. But something tells me that understanding he has been president once, he will be president again, understanding what that job entails, understanding what this moment means, having for President Trump not one but two near-death experiences just in the last year. He has been incredibly gracious about Jimmy Carter in at least his written word and some of his spoken word, despite a lot of policy disagreements, including some that he's trying to actively overturn right now as we speak.
Well, that's the thing, though. Politics should not get in the way of our interpersonal relationships. It should not get in the way of our humanity. If politics is overruling all of that, then you are doing politics wrong. And for as much as the left tries to paint Donald Trump as some type of inhumane and just cruel monster, he's proven time and time again that he's not. It's just a caricature that the mainstream media and the far left have painted of him. Now, Joe Biden was there. Keep in mind, Joe Biden is still the president of the United States, at least for a few more days. And surprise, surprise, he just appeared to fall asleep during the ceremony this morning. Now, to give him credit, he could be reflecting, he could be saying a prayer, he could just be sitting there in silence and remembrance, but no one else had their eyes closed for that length of time, and we have seen Joe Biden fall asleep in very public settings, especially when he's out supposedly doing diplomatic business, so I would not be surprised if he was actually catching some close-eye there. Last but not least, CNN kind of went morbid. As they were talking about Jimmy Carter's funeral, they had an entire panel talking about how Joe Biden is not so far from having his own funeral. I mean, they're not technically wrong, but kind of morbid, kind of a little on the nose to just say that. So they went down a pretty dark path. Here is just a moment, about 40 seconds worth of what this entire segment looked like.
Isaac, tell us a little bit more about the sort of imagery, or the symmetry here, perhaps is the word, is pretty striking.
Yeah, and as I read in the story that's up on our site, this is a weird situation because Joe Biden is going to today attend a funeral that will look a lot like his own funeral whenever that day comes. Every president makes a plan for his funeral. That's part of what happens. And this is getting to see what it'll be like. And he'll be delivering the eulogy at it at a moment when he is coming to the close of his presidency, but not just the close of the presidency. He's been in politics his entire life, 55-year career that is about to end.
I get what they're doing. I get the point that they're trying to make here, but don't forget, this is the same media that not even a year ago was trying to convince us that Joe Biden was spry. He was as spry as a chicken. He was youthful. He was cogent. He was with it. And now they're talking about how he's going to be the next Jimmy Carter. I mean, really, you can't make this stuff up. This is the media that wants us to take them seriously. Very, very sad. Now, the thing about Jimmy Carter is that, you know, he was well before my time. I wasn't alive for his presidency. But the thing that I'm taking away from his legacy is the fact that he returned to his roots. He returned to his hometown. In fact, he's being buried not in Washington, D.C., but in his small town in Georgia. Now, earlier in the video, I mentioned that this morning service was the first out of two, and the second one is happening in his hometown. And I think that's really interesting and in some ways inspirational. Not that he just returned to his roots, but that he stayed grounded. After he was president, he could have moved into a mansion. He could have moved into a gated community. He could have moved to Martha's Vineyard and started raking in money from book deals and all of that. But instead, he decided to return back home. It reminds me of, like, you know, the hobbits in Lord of the Rings. They leave the Shire, they do their duty, and they come back to the Shire. It's sort of like that. And in a way, it's really wholesome. I can you imagine being from a small town? Like, if someone in your small town, and, you know, I grew up in a town of fewer than 10,000 people. If someone from your hometown goes on to be president, they go on to be the most powerful person in the world, and then they come back home to the middle of nowhere, I mean, that's kind of cool. I think that says a lot about that person. Policy differences aside, politics aside, it says that, you know, they don't view themselves as being on a pedestal above everyone else. They, you know, a leader can come from nowhere. A leader can come from the most unexpected, humble places. And to me, that's inspirational. And to me, that's also a testament to the American dream and the system of governance that we have. So, policy differences aside, I think for me, that's what I'll remember about Jimmy Carter's legacy. As always, this is all just my analysis and commentary. This is what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So, a lot of people have been making hay about Kamala Harris's facial expressions when she turned back and saw Barack Obama and Donald Trump talking. Do you think that that's accurate, that people are right in saying that she was annoyed? Or do you think, you know, people are just reading too much into it and that it's a little difficult to tell body language about people we don't even know in person? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Or if you picked up some other body language that I didn't talk about, or if you noticed some other weird social dynamics, feel free to let me know your analysis down below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.